What up, my devil? Sensei-tutum here with a XRP update for you as voted on at Twitter. Real quick, I see a lot of comments whenever people talk about XRP. It's like, oh, why does anybody care about that scam coin? Well, I guess for hodlers, yeah, maybe you might hate this coin. But if you're trading, who cares? It's as far as scam coin goes, it's got a lot of volume compared to the rest of the crypto market. A lot of the coins of the crypto market that everyone's willing to trade. It's got development. It's got a team. You can safely trade this asset. And that's what I focus on here. Of course, what I do is, interesting to hodlers, of course. But, if you're hodling, you don't want to watch the price every day. You just don't. It's just not worth it. It's not good for the heart. If you're a trader, you don't care about fluctuations. Even if you're a hodler and a trader, if you're pretty good at trading, pretty used to trading, I should say, doesn't mean good. You should be pretty desensitized to price fluctuation. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Yeah, if you're a hodler and you're not trading, man, watching the price all the time, it's just not good for the soul. So I don't recommend it. In any event, so this is the last chart I've got here on Ripple, on old XRP to the dollar. So what we had here was a case for a technical low. However, my thought on the entire market, if anybody has been following me for a while, was at the time that the low was not in here. And by this count here, I had a truncated C wave. I'm sorry. Well, yes, truncated C, but a fifth of the C, the C is not itself truncated. The fifth of the C is truncated. And then you get the reaction out of it you might expect. So I'm still happy with the count to here. And then I would say that, like the rest of the market, the credibility of counts that would have this still to go down are not as good. But in the case of this coin here, the Elliott Wave count sucks. I mean, I looked at like 4 or 5 different exchanges, pretty much all different. Yeah, as far as like this wick here, or if this makes a new low, or if this is a low. So putting a count on this is maybe not the best idea from an Elliott perspective. Anybody that does Elliott Wave will tell you that you should consider other things. And there's a lot of other things we can't consider here. So the highest volume exchange right now is Huobi of the Asian market, but they don't have that much price history. So I'm going to stick with Bitstamp. Leave this chart here. Let's see, go over here. Oh, this one's still on Huobi. As you see, that wick does not exist. Bitstamp's getting known for those, unfortunately, since Old Reliable is supposed to not have those. But yeah, so this is Huobi, the highest trading volume exchange right now. Let's get over to Bitstamp. Got this nice history. So remember, we have a case for a technical low here. What's after? I said, even though the Elliott count sucks, I would think that we have a 1, 2 somewhere, potentially working on another impulse. And the bearish options are there count-wise, but at this point, I would not have too much faith in the Elliott. So with, what you do when you trade is you have your methods. What are the methods that you trust? And you get really good at those methods. And obviously then you scale the level of importance depending on what you think is most accurate or probable at the time. Well, right now I don't find that I can put an Elliott count on here that I would see as reliable or probable, probable that it's correct and that I would, trade on for sure. But what are some other things we look at? Geometry, support and resistance, things like that. So let's take a look at those things. That's why we're zoomed out here. Let's look at some support and resistance first. These are just important levels in the market that have been reached previously and have shown to react. So obviously this here is a big point of support. Not want to break that guy. We'll put that on a red. And then we've got what I would also say is a very important point of support, because look at all this, right around here. We'll leave that red as well. This is a good time that you can use your VPVR tool, which is just volume, trading volume at a price level, as opposed to being on this axis, you know, volume at this candle, this candle, this candle. It's volume at this price, this price, this price. So let's throw that on here. Not surprisingly, we have that high level of volume here. And prior to that, the high volume was right in the middle, and you would expect it to be about in the median of the price fluctuations, right in the median of this one. And then we had that craziness, and now it's right in the median of this one. So if we, for instance, if we just get that price history out of view, you see where the highest volume traded at was right in sort of in the middle of that price volume. So now that this has happened, we have this happening again. So this tells me, and I remember back in these days, people being very aware of Ripple, but it just was pretty much like a 24-cent coin, and it stayed there. Well, look what it's been doing. It's doing about the same thing. It's been in this level, and it's just staying there. Now let's go ahead and throw some more support resist lines on here. So I would say that this is a significant pivot line. Look, we pivot here once, we pivot in here again, pivot there, ride the line here, pivot, break through, get rejected out. This, I'd say this is a very significant level. And look at that. Should go ahead and change this color. Sorry, guys, let me be a little OCD right now. We'll leave that red, take it down. Okay, so as you see now, as you see here, we've sort of set the ceiling and the floor for this old trading range. And, you know, we're kind of like referring back to the fractal nature of the market, which is all the Elliott Wave is. However, we're not using Elliott Wave right now. So we have this price support level, this price resistance level back here. This price resistance level is turned into now a price support level. Look at that. And now we have a new price resistance level. And when we eventually over here broke out of that resistance level, well, I think a lot of people listening to this probably benefited from this, or did not at all, and they're salty. I didn't. FYI, I remember back here, I was holding Ripple. I bought probably right here, and I only sold it because with the intention of buying back and waiting for where something like this to happen. But I wanted to use the money in another position. So I sold it, and then literally like a few days later. So I guess I sold it probably around here or something. And I'd been holding it for like a month. Yeah, and did this. That was sad. Anyway, yeah, so now looking at price support and resistance, it looks like that shit could happen again, doesn't it? What do we see? Test, 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 test. You know, hold, hold, hold. So it was a floor before, but we broke through, you know, floor, 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 floor. I would say we are looking at this significant level. Now, obviously, if you wait for it to break, you know, are you going to get this again? Maybe you might. But it's hard to get an entry after it breaks. So, and I'm not advocating trading that. I'm just pointing out what we've seen in the past. So now let's look at a little bit of geometry, get down. Let's see, do we want to get down on that? Well, yeah, let's look at a little bit of market structure here. I would say something like this could be considered market structure. And of course, we could do something like this. And this is just geometry, fellas. So if maybe even come back somehow to there, like that, take off the wicks, maybe something like this as well. So we have two levels of potential market structure that, as you can see, this level here, when we broke it, boom, pop. and it took the pop to break it. So, this could pop and resist. It then becomes, so it was resistance, then becomes support. Now, this market structure level is resistance. So we have this support, this resistance, something to consider. Can we throw a pitchfork on here? I don't really think so. Yeah, log, I'm sure we can actually. So these are, once you switch into log, these don't work quite as well. You'd have to redraw them. And that was a non-logarithmic scale. I don't see any pitchforks I'd really want to draw terribly right now. I mean, yeah, I just don't love the pitchfork right now. Let's get out of the log for now. Let's take it down to 4 hour. Get rid of this thing. Let's throw our actual, let's get our Vegas waves on here. Okay, so Vegas waves have seemed to be fairly, like most markets, fairly good at containing price or acting as support and resistance as price in this market. Let's check the daily. So they've been resistance since the majority of the bear market here. Although, yeah, so as we see here, let's just take note of this on the 4 hour or daily. We are on the not only the price support level. Oh, look at this. So we have another. I would say price at this time frame, lower time frame, or not lower, but I would say we need to take account for this a little bit less significant than the other price action levels. Is this level right here? Look at these, resistance, support. So I think we definitely pivot around that. This is, I would say, an important level here that is now acting as support again. Let's move that to even darker blue. A little bit darker than that to denote less significance. So yeah, just doing a little bit of price. I know you guys watch me for Elliott Wave, so might have probably lost a lot of you already. But this is, I think, we are actually getting into just on price and resistance levels. We're getting into a good trading range here. So if this point of support breaks, it will also coincide with these daily Vegas waves. I would say your next stop, it could go down. You would look for this to act as some sort of resistance, but your next real stop is down to here, is your next point of support. So, in areas around here could be a nice long for a trade up to here, just based on support and resistance. And that's, an important way to trade. I always consider support and resistance in my trading. All right, let's get zoomed in a little bit more. Okay, so now if you would like, you can start applying some more Elliott to this, right? So is this a 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Potentially, or is it a 1 and then you are violation? Because remember, this wick doesn't exist anywhere but Bitstamp, where I believe this is typically the low. Still hard to apply. Elliott in this case here, but let's for the sake of argument call this a completed impulse. The move certainly off this high looks to be corrective, right? What do I have Bitcoin in? A flat. What do I have Ethereum in? A triangle. You know, you guys, if anybody that didn't see my market overview video from Friday can take a look at that. We did break briefly through the Vegas waves on the 4-hour here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So, and this is just a very loose Elliott count because we're not focusing on Elliott here. Get the same color going here. Actually, do this and do this in yellow. So this could potentially be, is this a rules compliant diagonal here? So what I just drew up here is 3, 3, and then is this a triangle like ETH? Is this a flat potentially like Bitcoin? What is this? Let's take a look. And we're not worried about this. We could say, yeah, this is a completed impulse, sure. But what is this pattern here? Because, you know, even if we don't know what the previous pattern is and the next pattern is, in Elliott, all that matters for trading is the degree of trend at which you are trading, right? So if we can identify a completed pattern here and we know our Elliott and can assume what will happen next, you can trade that. So let's identify if we think this is a triangle or flat or something. So this is probably a zigzag here. We do not create a new high, but we definitely have the ability to be a flat at this point. Now, like I said, is this a rules compliant diagonal? So just going to measure. So this is longer than this. This is shorter than this. So it's looking like we're not going to have any sort of rules compliant diagonal, because in a contracting diagonal, this would need to be shorter than this. And in an expanding diagonal, this would need to be longer than this. Let's just, for the sake of it, see what it would be contracting. So let's verify again. But, so that's longer. Now, that's not to say that this couldn't turn into 1, 2, 1, 2, because that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sure looks like a extended fifth for a 5 wave coming back down for a 3. So, you know, this could turn into a something like this. Let's see, 1. For sure, it could turn into something like this, and then you could come down and make a new relative low. But maybe it's more likely that this would be a WX535Y. So I don't know. Like Bitcoin, like the rest of the market, it does appear that this is not yet quite done. I would say after some up, potentially more, little bit of up here for a B, potentially some more down B or whatever we might determine that this is. We're looking at triangle or flat. Same thing with ETH right now is it came down real low and almost violated for the triangle, but it has bounced hard out of that. So the triangle count is still what I'm looking at for ETH. And this, I would say we're looking at potential for being a triangle as well. And in order to do that, this would be our ABC, which is C leg of a triangle is, of course, your most probable for, according to EWI, is most probable for being the complex leg. And the double zigzag that could potentially be playing out would qualify as such. So A, B, finishing C potentially down here. Unless you can try to get a 3 wave out of one of these, but I'd say impulse for sure on each. So these are 3 or 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. So expecting 3 and then 5 down more. Whether it be for part of a diagonal C or a triangle, yet to be determined. And then after completion of this down, we'll get a nice up. And I would say if you would like to trade that, that would be my next long, trade here for long, is that after this 3 up finishes and a 5 down, long to here. So yeah, that's where we're at with the Elliott. So on that degree. And then again, like I say, we are in a, now in order to get up to here, we're going to break this market structure, aren't we? So A, B, C, maybe D to here, E down. Triangle could really break us through. So maybe the long would not be to here. Consider this market structure. Now, on this degree, I believe we can throw a pitchfork on here. Let's get in here. Even though these wicks don't exist everywhere, we're going to use them on this market. Okay, I would say we have some relevance here, but and this is 1.5. Leave that on there. Take note of it. Change your parallels up to find out what's exactly reacting. Like I would want this parallel as opposed to the one I have on there. Same for this one. This is probably like the 786 up here or something, 886. So yeah, I would say waiting for a retest of this, and then you could trade up to here potentially with a nice, let's say we did come down and retest. You could take we're already below the Vegas wave, so potentially we get rejected out. You'll just have to look at market structure, at the price action at the time of your trade. Look for a completion of count, 5 wave down. They will then reverse out. You do have this resistance of the geometry and this price action here. I would not expect a significant break below any of this for any amount of time. So you could then use this information as your stop loss. If you get significantly below this, well, then you're going to break down, right? So you could play it tight in this area for a long, whether it be here or here. And then, of course, if you're thinking about the long game, get back out here on the daily. If you're only concerned about the long game, and again, you don't have to be a Ripple fan. You just got to like money because, personally, I hate banks. I don't like Ripple. But if you're looking for a long-term trade game, look at what happened here. Maybe we could potentially see that happen here. Now, again, if you wait till it breaks, when do you get in here, right? When do you get in? When do you get in? Look at that thing. So, and these are daily candles. It's pretty amazing. So I would, if you're interested in Ripple for the long game, why not be in now? You're in this range. Look for a stop below this. This is your range that you would want to hold within, and then you break below here, you reevaluate. But I don't know how many people are in the Ripple long game. Probably a lot. Anyway, that's what I got for you today, guys. A little, not really too much Elliott talk, but nice look at some market structure and price resistance levels, support and resist. All right, boys, toot out.